Okay, so in today's lesson, what we're going to learn is we're going to learn how to import PowerPoint presentations into ProPresenter. And this is maybe a little bit counterintuitive in that we don't actually use PowerPoint at all to import into ProPresenter. But I'll walk you through that just so that we're all aware of how it works. So probably the first place to start would be finding where your PowerPoint presentation is. Often the pastors will put their sermon in the Dropbox, and you can navigate to that by going up to the top menu bar here, clicking the Dropbox icon, and then clicking the folder, and that'll open it up in Finder. And there we can double click and go into Sermons iMac, and we could look at either of these are fine because it's just for example. So we grab the PowerPoint document that we're looking for. It is programmed to open it up in Keynote, so all we have to do is double click and it should launch Keynote to open it. The reason that we use Keynote to open this is because it allows us one wonderful feature, and that feature is exporting each stage of the slide as a separate image. So the way we would do that is we go up to the Keynote menu, to the File menu here, and we go down to Export to, select Images, and then this is the important step here. We want to create an image for each stage of the builds. Microsoft PowerPoint doesn't allow us to do this, and so it would export the different slides. This slide with all this text, it's probably broken into 3 different transitions as we play it, but if we were to export it in PowerPoint, it would give this whole slide all at once, as opposed to giving it like this, where it gives one line, an additional line, and then the third line. So that's 3 instead of, and it would give us this whole slide instead of just allowing us to give it out 1, 2, 3. So that's why we use Keynote, and that's the stage of the builds that it's referring to. So to export this document, it's also a good idea to quickly glance through it and make sure that things look nice and pretty. For an example, it might look a little bit nicer to have the spacing, just to have a few more words on the bottom rather than just the one word, to give it a bit more of an aesthetic appeal. And also, this is the place where you can catch if there's any spelling errors or anything in it. You can do all that before you export it. So for an example, the number 5 here is actually yellow. So we could either change that to be white, or we can have the other ones be yellow, just so that there's consistency. But for this example, we won't bother changing that. So what we'll do is we will go up to File, we will go to Export to, again we're going to go to Images, and then we're going to select Slides, all of them, and then we're going to create an image for each stage of builds. And then we select Next. Now it's going to ask us where we'd like to save it to. And there's actually a favorite section on the Finder window, so we can always go to Sermon Slides and it'll bring us into this folder. And then what it will do is it will create it'll create a folder with this title. So this will be 5 Listening for God's Guidance, March, whatever the date is. So what I will do is I'm going to put a number 2 after it because this one's already created, but just for the example, so we can see what we are referring to. So if I hit Export, then it's going to create the image files. Now we can exit out of Keynote, and to exit in Mac, we'd go up to the Keynote menu here, and we would click Quit Keynote. It also has a keyboard shortcut if you're interested in that, and you could quit Keynote or any program in Mac by just pressing Command Q. If you see that they've got these little command menus, they're keyboard shortcuts, so you don't have to use a mouse to do it. But the mouse is sometimes just easier to utilize for being able to see where you're going. So we'll quit Keynote and we're done with that. We don't need to save this document because it's already on our computer as a PowerPoint. And it's also saved as images. So now what we can do is we can bring up ProPresenter. So we'll open ProPresenter, and then what we do is we can create a new document in ProPresenter by clicking the plus button here, create a new presentation, and we'll call this Listening Prayer Test 2. And then what we do is we can change the category to be a PowerPoint, just so that our library is easier to sort. And then the template doesn't matter because it's just going to create some blank slides that we don't really, or a blank slide that we don't actually end up using anyways. So we click new, then it creates this. Now what we do is we can either navigate to the sermon slides in the Finder, and by going to Listening Prayer for God's Guidance, Wide 2, that was another way you can do it. You can look at the date it was created, today at 3:43, which is when I'm recording it. So if I double click this, you'll see that it has all of the different stage of the builds as a separate picture. So if I select anything in that document and then press Command A, that selects all of the files in that open window, and now I can click and drag all 78 of them. And the important thing to notice is that green plus arrow. That's saying that yes, it will add 78 things to this Listening Prayer Test 2 document. So I'll click that, and then I'm done with Finder, so I can exit out of Finder. And then I'll just scroll through and make sure that they're there. So I'm happy with that. One thing that we learned in the last lesson is to put a stage display cue on the first slide. So what we'll do to do that is we will quickly add a cue, and we will add a stage display layout. And because it's a teaching document, we will put that there. And that way, when we click on the teaching document, then the pastor has a preview of what is on the screen behind them, and they don't have to look backwards. So that's the easiest way that we can import PowerPoint presentations. And the reason that we do it that way instead of launching PowerPoint or anything like that is because PowerPoint doesn't like to play nicely with 3 monitors, and that's essentially what we're using here at Wilmot Center. We have one monitor here, which is our controlled one. We have a stage display monitor, and we have the live monitor that the congregation gets to see. So by bringing them all in as pictures, we can stay within ProPresenter, as well as we can keep consistency in our transitions and not add any unnecessary distractions because of crazy PowerPoint transitions that are spinning or looping or different things like that. So that's how we import PowerPoint presentations into ProPresenter. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and thanks for sticking around for it.